Hello everyone. I'm James from Untold Stories. Today, I'm taking you on an emotional historical journey with a never-before-told tale. Her hands saved lives. Uncovering a U.S. Army medic's hidden truth. Let's uncover the secret behind the hands that saved countless lives. A U.S. Army medic with a hidden truth that will leave you stunned. Don't miss out, hit play and join me in revealing this chapter of history. In this gripping tale, I'll unravel the enigma of a woman whose hands performed feats far beyond a typical paramedic skill set, revealing advanced surgical techniques. You'll discover who she is, the origins of her extraordinary abilities, and why her true background remained a secret for 15 years. This was no ordinary night shift. Welcome to Hidden Legends. First, share in the comments what city you're reading from, and whether you believe true legends emerge in the most unexpected moments. This story has 3 layers, with the most shocking revelation at the end. Dr. Eleanor Beaumont worked the night shift at City General Hospital, but she wasn't a doctor, or so everyone believed. For 3 years, she operated as a paramedic alongside her team, who were unaware of her hidden past. That night, everything would change. Eleanor was always different. While other paramedics checked basic vitals, she conducted meticulous examinations. Why so thorough? Her colleagues James and Thomas would ask. Habit, she'd reply softly, but those habits stemmed from extraordinary experiences. Her partners found her methods peculiar. We're paramedics, Eleanor, not surgeons, they'd say. She'd smile without responding, for they were mistaken. Eleanor's equipment checks were surgical in precision, 4 needles, intubation tools, cardiac monitors, as if preparing for an operating theater. That night's case would demand exactly this readiness. At 33, Eleanor was unflinchingly professional, never faltering under pressure, exuding a confidence forged in unique circumstances. Her medical knowledge astounded even senior doctors. Where did you train? They'd inquire. Various places, she'd answer vaguely, for those places were far from conventional medical schools. At 19, Eleanor Beaumont had enlisted in the Army, not out of tradition or necessity, but for a deeper reason that set her on an elite path. Starting in the Medical Corps, she advanced to combat medical training, an exclusive program for the top 1%. But her specialized training in special operations medical techniques, advanced surgery in combat zones, was yet to come. Her first deployment was to Afghanistan with a forward surgical team, performing life-saving operations on wounded soldiers in field conditions. This experience transformed her. Her second deployment in Iraq attached her to special forces, handling bullet wounds, explosive injuries, and complex trauma with minimal resources. Her hands became instruments of precision, a skill that would draw attention at City General that night. Her third deployment near the Syria border involved black operations medical support, conducting combat surgery under fire. Now a field surgeon, why had she transitioned to a paramedic? The answer involved PTSD, readjustment struggles, and the challenges of civilian life. High-stress medical work felt familiar, but civilian hierarchies frustrated her, and that tension would erupt that night. The Tuesday shift began routinely, car accidents, elderly falls, chest pain, until a call at 11:47 p.m. reported a multi-vehicle collision on Highway 95, with multiple casualties and possible entrapment. Eleanor's instincts sharpened. This call demanded her true expertise. At the chaotic scene, 3 cars, 1 overturned, 2 passengers trapped. She sprang into action. The first patient, conscious but bleeding from a head wound, seemed stable to James, but Eleanor's keen eye detected intracranial bleeding. James, stop, she commanded, her voice authoritative. This isn't a simple head wound. Look at the pupil response, blood pattern, neurological signs. She initiated advanced airway management and cranial pressure monitoring, shocking James. Eleanor, we're not neurosurgeons. Her response was firm. I know what I'm doing. With surgical precision, she performed advanced intubation, a technique far beyond paramedic training. The second patient, with chest trauma and signs of shock, required immediate action. Eleanor diagnosed tension pneumothorax and possible hemothorax, performing needle decompression with equipment not standard in ambulances. Her steady hand stabilized the patient, leaving Thomas stunned. Where did you learn this? He asked. Different places, she replied, but James pressed further. This is trauma surgery. Paramedics don't do this. Pausing, hands bloodied but steady, Eleanor decided to reveal the truth. The third patient, with multiple traumas and nearing shock, demanded complex interventions. Eleanor's precise, machine-like efficiency, advanced access, blood pressure management, intricate medication protocols, surpassed paramedic norms. At City General, Dr. William Harris reviewed the cases and was astonished by the surgical-level care, intracranial pressure management, chest decompression, trauma stabilization. "Who provided this?" he asked. James pointed to Eleanor, who admitted, "I did, sir." Her revelation stunned the room. Army Special Operations medical training, combat surgery specialist, 3 deployments. She was a major, a combat medical specialist, outranking many attending physicians in experience. Dr. Harris offered her a role in trauma surgery, promising to arrange civilian certification. Eleanor's colleagues James and Thomas were awestruck. "A major, a surgeon, a hero. Why keep it secret?" they asked. "Military culture," she explained. "You don't boast, you show what you can do." Weeks later, Eleanor balanced paramedic duties with trauma surgery training, becoming City General's greatest asset. Her reputation as the paramedic surgeon spread, inspiring veterans and young paramedics. She launched a mentorship program for military to civilian medical transitions, leading to a specialized trauma unit, where she became the lead surgeon. A year later, Dr. Eleanor Beaumont, board-certified trauma surgeon, retained her paramedic identity, shaped by street medicine's urgency. James and Thomas joined her surgical team, creating a paramedic-to-surgeon pipeline that transformed healthcare. Eleanor's story gained national acclaim, inspiring veterans and training combat medics for civilian roles. Her office displays a photo of her military medical team, a testament to her past and a beacon for her future. Have you encountered a healthcare provider like Eleanor, whose hidden military background revealed exceptional skill? Share your stories, for at Hidden Legends, we celebrate the greatest healers in the humblest roles. The legacy of Eleanor Beaumont was only beginning to take shape at City General Hospital, where her dual role as paramedic and trauma surgeon had already reshaped the medical landscape, but a new challenge loomed that would test her skills, resolve, and the mentorship program she'd built, drawing attention from beyond the hospital walls to a national stage, where her past and present would collide in ways she never anticipated, revealing a hidden threat tied to her military days that could unravel everything she'd worked for. Welcome back to Hidden Legends. Share in the comments if you've ever seen a leader rise when the stakes are highest, because this chapter uncovers a deeper layer of Eleanor's story, one that even she didn't see coming. It began 6 months after Eleanor's promotion to lead surgeon. City General had become a beacon for military to civilian medical transitions, with her mentorship program training dozens of veterans, including Sophie Lauron, a former Navy corpsman with a sharp mind but a troubled past. Sophie's talent was undeniable, but her hesitation in high-pressure scenarios reminded Eleanor of her own early struggles, sparking a personal mission to guide her. Meanwhile, James and Thomas, now integral to Eleanor's surgical team, noticed an influx of complex trauma cases flooding the ER, cases that bore eerie similarities to the combat injuries Eleanor had treated in Afghanistan and Iraq: blunt force trauma, shrapnel-like wounds, and chemical burns far beyond typical urban accidents. Eleanor's instincts kicked in. These weren't random. Her suspicions deepened when an unmarked letter arrived at her office, containing a coded message in military cipher, a code she hadn't seen since her Syria deployment. Decoding it revealed a warning. "They're watching, Major, your work isn't done." Her heart raced. Who knew her military rank and why now? That night, a critical case arrived. A young man with shrapnel wounds from an alleged industrial explosion, but Eleanor's trained eye spotted inconsistencies. The wound patterns matched military-grade ordnance, not civilian machinery. As she performed emergency surgery, her hands steady as ever, she noticed a microchip embedded in the shrapnel, a tracking device. This was no accident, she confided in James and Thomas, who were skeptical but trusted her instincts. "Eleanor, this sounds like something from your Black Ops days," Thomas said, half joking, but Eleanor's face was grim. She hadn't left the military behind as cleanly as she thought. Contacting an old special operations colleague, Captain Lucas Moreau, now a private security consultant, she learned of a rogue operation tied to her final deployment, a group of ex-contractors exploiting military medical advancements for profit, using civilians as test subjects for experimental trauma treatments. City General was their testing ground because of Eleanor's expertise. They wanted her skills, willingly or not. The next day, Sophie revealed her own secret. She'd been approached by a shadowy figure offering funding for the mentorship program in exchange for data on Eleanor's techniques. Horrified, Sophie had refused, but the encounter left her shaken. Eleanor realized the stakes. Her program, her team, and her patients were at risk. She devised a plan, using her military training to turn the tables. She instructed Sophie to arrange a meeting with the figure, while Lucas traced their communications that night. At a deserted warehouse, Eleanor confronted the operative, a former colleague from her Syria days. "You can't hide your skills, Major," he sneered. But Eleanor was prepared. With James and Thomas providing backup, they subdued the operative, uncovering evidence of a network targeting veterans programs nationwide. Eleanor's quick thinking saved her team and exposed the operation to authorities. The fallout was swift. City General tightened security, and Eleanor's mentorship program gained federal support, ensuring its survival. Sophie, inspired by Eleanor's courage, overcame her hesitations, becoming a lead instructor. Eleanor's reputation soared, not just as a surgeon but as a protector of her community. Her office now held a second photo, her new team at City General, standing alongside her military one, a testament to her unwavering service. As she trained the next generation, Eleanor knew the threats might never fully fade, but neither would her resolve. Have you ever faced a moment where your past came back to challenge your present? Share your stories, because at Hidden Legends, we know the greatest heroes rise when the shadows of their past emerge. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Eleanor's work takes her beyond the hospital to a global stage, proving that true service knows no boundaries. Eleanor Beaumont's influence had transformed City General Hospital into a global model for military to civilian medical transitions. But as her mentorship program gained international attention, a new crisis emerged, pulling her onto a world stage where her skills, resolve, and hidden past would face their ultimate test, revealing a conspiracy that threatened not just her hospital, but the future of trauma care worldwide. Welcome back to Hidden Legends. Share in the comments if you've ever seen a hero rise against impossible odds, because this chapter unveils a truth that could shake the foundations of global healthcare. It began a year after Eleanor exposed the rogue operation targeting her program. City General was now a hub for trauma innovation, with delegates from Europe, Asia, and Africa visiting to study her methods. Sophie Laurent, now a confident lead instructor, worked alongside James and Thomas, who had become expert trauma coordinators. But Eleanor noticed a troubling pattern in the international cases they reviewed: patients arriving with complex injuries, blast wounds, chemical burns, and neurological trauma, mirroring those from her military deployments. Yet these were civilians from conflict-free regions. Her suspicions grew when Dr. William Harris received an encrypted file from an anonymous source, detailing experimental trauma protocols being tested in remote clinics, protocols eerily similar to Eleanor's special operations techniques. The file hinted at a global network misusing military medical advancements, and Eleanor's name was listed as a key asset. That night, a high-profile case arrived. A diplomat from a war-torn nation with shrapnel injuries from an alleged assassination attempt. Eleanor's assessment revealed the wounds were staged, laced with synthetic compounds designed to mimic combat trauma. Her hands moved with surgical precision as she stabilized the patient, uncovering another microchip, this time embedded in tissue, coated with data linking to offshore medical facilities. She contacted Captain Lucas Moreau, who confirmed the chips were part of a black market operation selling advanced trauma care to private militias. Using Eleanor's reputation to validate their work, determined to stop this, Eleanor accepted an invitation to speak at an international medical conference in Geneva. Sensing it was a trap but knowing it was her chance to expose the truth, in Geneva, she met Dr. Clara Fischer, a German trauma specialist who had uncovered similar irregularities. Clara revealed that the network was funded by a shadowy conglomerate profiting from destabilized regions, targeting Eleanor's expertise to perfect their protocols. During her keynote speech, Eleanor deviated from the script, presenting evidence of the conspiracy. Her words electrified the audience, but mid-speech security alerts triggered. An armed operative infiltrated the conference, aiming to silence her. Drawing on her combat training, Eleanor coordinated with Lucas, who was on site, to neutralize the threat. Sophie, James, and Thomas, monitoring remotely, hacked the network servers, leaking incriminating data to global authorities. The operative was apprehended, and the evidence sparked an international investigation. Eleanor's actions dismantled the conglomerate's medical arm, saving countless lives. Back at City General, her team expanded the mentorship program globally, training medics in ethical trauma care. Eleanor became Dr. Eleanor Beaumont, global consultant, but remained a paramedic at heart. Her office now displayed a third photo, her Geneva team alongside her military and City General ones, symbolizing a legacy of service across borders. Sophie took on leadership roles, inspired by Eleanor's fearlessness, while James and Thomas developed new trauma protocols, their pipeline now a global standard. Eleanor's story inspired a movement, with veterans worldwide joining her mission. Her greatest achievement was a global network of ethical trauma care, ensuring her skills served humanity, not profit. Have you ever witnessed someone turn a personal fight into a global cause? Share your experiences, because at Hidden Legends, we know true heroes bridge the past and future to heal the world. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Eleanor faces a personal reckoning that could redefine her legacy forever. Eleanor Beaumont's global network of ethical trauma care had become a beacon of hope, but as her influence spread, a personal reckoning loomed, forcing her to confront a buried chapter of her military past that threatened to unravel her legacy, pulling her into a final battle not just for her principles but for the very soul of her mission. Welcome back to Hidden Legends. Share in the comments if you've ever faced a moment where your past demanded you choose between silence and truth, because this chapter reveals Eleanor's deepest secret, one that could redefine her forever. It began as City General's trauma unit thrived under her leadership, with Sophie Laurent now overseeing international training programs and James and Thomas pioneering new surgical protocols. But a cryptic message arrived from an old military contact, Colonel Marcus Lefebvre, a mentor from her Afghanistan days. He requested a private meeting in London, hinting at a classified operation tied to her final Syria deployment. Eleanor's instincts flared. Sensing this was no mere reunion in London, Marcus revealed a haunting truth. During her last Black Ops mission, a failed experimental treatment under her care had led to the loss of a high-ranking officer, a tragedy buried by military secrecy. But now, a whistleblower threatened to expose it, linking Eleanor's name to negligence. The accusation was false, but the evidence was doctored, and the whistleblower was backed by remnants of the conglomerate she dismantled in Geneva. Seeking revenge, Eleanor's heart sank. This could destroy her credibility in her program. Returning to City General, she confided in Dr. William Harris and Lucas Moreau, who urged her to fight. Sophie, James, and Thomas rallied around her, but the personal toll was heavy. Nightmares of that Syria mission resurfaced, the officer's face haunting her. She hadn't failed. She'd followed protocol under impossible conditions, but doubt gnawed at her, determined to clear her name. Eleanor tracked the whistleblower to a remote safehouse in Scotland. With Lucas and Clara Fisher, who had joined her cause, they uncovered a cache of forged documents, but the safehouse was a trap. Operatives ambushed them, forcing Eleanor to rely on her combat surgical instincts to stabilize Lucas after a gunshot wound. Her hands, steady as ever, saved him, while Clara's quick thinking disarmed the attackers. The documents revealed the truth. The officer's death was due to sabotage by the conglomerate, not Eleanor's actions. With Sophie's help, they leaked the evidence to global media, exonerating Eleanor and exposing the final threads of the conspiracy. Back at City General, Eleanor addressed her team, revealing the full story of her Syria mission. Her vulnerability strengthened their bond. The hospital board doubled down on her program, and Marcus, now retired, joined as an advisor. Eleanor's legacy grew stronger. Her office now held a fourth photo, her team in Scotland, a symbol of truth prevailing. But a deeper question lingered. Could she forgive herself for the lives she couldn't save? Her answer would shape the final chapter. Have you ever had to confront a painful truth to protect your future? Share your stories, because at Hidden Legends, we know the greatest battles are fought within. Stay tuned for the final chapter, where Eleanor's legacy finds its ultimate purpose. Eleanor Beaumont stood at the pinnacle of her career, her name cleared and her global trauma care network thriving. But the scars of her past demanded one final reckoning, a journey to find peace within herself and cement a legacy that would outlive her, transforming the future of healthcare for generations. Welcome to the final chapter of Hidden Legends. Share in the comments if you've ever found redemption through service, because this chapter reveals how Eleanor turned her pain into purpose. It began as City General became a global training hub, with Sophie Laurent, James, Thomas, and Clara Fisher leading regional programs, and Colonel Marcus Lefebvre mentoring new recruits. But Eleanor felt an inner void. The Syria mission still haunted her, not for the false accusations, But for the lives she couldn't save, a letter from a Syrian refugee, now a medic trained by her program, changed everything. He thanked her for a technique that saved his village, a technique she'd used in that fateful mission. Inspired, Eleanor launched a final initiative, a mobile trauma unit for conflict zones, bringing her combat-honed skills to the most vulnerable. She partnered with Dr. William Harris and Lucas Moreau to secure funding, but the first mission, to a war-torn region in Africa, tested her resolve. A child with severe blast injuries arrived, mirroring her Syria loss. Eleanor's hands trembled, memories flooding back, but Sophie, now her equal, steadied her. "You taught us every life matters," she said. Eleanor performed the surgery, saving the child, and in that moment, she forgave herself. The mission succeeded, establishing a network of mobile units worldwide. Eleanor trained medics in her signature precision. Her team, James, Thomas, Sophie, Clara, Lucas, and Marcus, became her family, their pipeline now a global lifeline. City General was renamed the Beaumont Trauma Institute, a testament to her impact. Her office displayed a fifth photo, her mobile unit team in Africa, alongside her military, City General, Geneva, and Scotland photos, a mosaic of service. Eleanor, now Dr. Eleanor Beaumont, Global Trauma Ambassador, never abandoned her paramedic roots, teaching that every second counts, every decision matters. Her story inspired millions, veterans and civilians alike, to serve with humility. Her greatest achievement was not the lives she saved, but the healers she empowered. As she trained the next generation, she told them, "Your service never ends, it evolves." Sophie took over the institute, James and Thomas led global training, and Clara and Lucas expanded the mobile units. Eleanor's legacy was complete, a world where hidden legends like her could heal openly. Have you ever seen someone turn personal pain into global good? Share your experiences, because at Hidden Legends, we know the greatest heroes don't just save lives, they inspire others to do the same. Thank you for joining Eleanor's journey. Keep sharing your stories for service. Never stops, it just changes uniforms.